As an audiologist, one of the biggest questions I get from my patients and their family members is why they have no trouble understanding me, but they seem to have trouble understanding almost everyone else, especially other women. So today I want to break down 2 tips on what I do in my office to help people understand me better, with or without hearing aids. So the first tip is slow down. Now, slowing down helps people understand you better for a number of reasons. But specifically with hearing loss, it gives people more time to fill in the missing pieces that might happen when you have a hearing loss. So, with the most typical type of age-related sensory neural hearing loss, people are missing a lot of clarity. So it often sounds like people are mumbling. And if there's background noise, it can kind of bulldoze over some of those important pieces. And so they're left using context cues to fill in the gaps. Like, did he say cat or sat or fat? So they have to use whatever was being discussed to figure out which is the best option out of those. And that's not necessarily something that takes that long for people, but it takes a little longer than just hearing things plain and clear. So giving people more time to process that information and to make sense of it can help them stay on track and follow you much more effectively, and also have less fatigue in the process, which will make them want to stay around a lot longer in most cases. So how do we slow down? How do we remember to slow down and stay at that pace when we don't normally talk at that pace? That's the tricky part. Now, you're probably going to need to be reminded, and I would encourage you to have the other person remind you to slow down, or to set yourself up with some kind of reminder. What I use when I'm trying to learn a new habit like that is I'll actually take one ring off of a finger and put it on another finger where it kind of doesn't fit. And that's annoying enough and subtle enough that it reminds me that there's something I'm supposed to be doing. So if that works for you, great. So the way that I slow down is I listen to each word that I'm saying. So I actually hear my own voice and feel my own mouth creating the words. And just by doing that, that inherently slows down your rate of speech. Now, you don't want to do that to the extent where you start to sound like a robot or you go at a snail's pace, but you just want to slow it down a little bit. And you can always ask the person if the rate of speech that you're using is helpful, if it should be slower, or if it's really not helping them at all. Everybody's different. And I would just encourage you to have the conversation if you can. If you can't have the conversation, then you just want to track if the changes that you're making seem like they're helping that person understand you better. So, number 1, slow down. Number 2 is articulate more clearly. And that's actually part of slowing down. Sometimes when we slow down, we start to articulate more just naturally. You want to articulate more by hearing and feeling each individual sound. So slowing down, I think you can do by hearing each word. But articulating requires you to pay attention to each sound. And sometimes that's more of a feeling in your mouth, like your lips coming together when you say P. And that awareness allows you to slow down and enunciate so that 2 things happen. 1, the sounds are more visible on your face, so you can actually see more clearly the difference between P and F. You can also hear those differences more clearly if you have an aidable hearing in that frequency range. And so it's got a 2-fold effect at adding more clarity to what you're saying, which, for the same reasons as I mentioned with slowing down, help the person have less missing pieces and also help them fill in those missing pieces more effectively with more information, more visual and more acoustic information. So those are the 2 tips that I think are probably the most impactful. There's lots of other helpful tips like learning how to project and making sure that you're facing people and trying to reduce background noise. And I'm going to go over those in some other blog posts. But I just wanted to show you what this actually looks like. And I encourage you to just try it. Give yourself the goal of maybe doing it for a minute. You don't have to say that you're going to magically start changing your speech patterns tomorrow. Give yourself a short-term goal where you can say, yes, I did or didn't do that. Set yourself up with reminders and just, keep working at it. Hearing aids don't solve everything, and it really takes a lot of other angles of affecting communication to get the most out of it. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.